Roll call, we can start with Joe, please.
Joe Matasovich.
Stephanie Miller.
Debbie Sherman.
Michael Kusa.
Shelley Castle.
Steve Kozak. Vinny Candela.
All right, we're all, gang's all here. Any amendments to the agenda from anyone? Hearing none. December 13th, Board of Education minutes.
Motion to approve the December 13th Board of Education minutes.
Second. All those in favor? Are there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstained?
Abstain. I wasn't in attendance.
Okay, do you get that, Claire? Yeah. That Mike abstained? Motion
Shelley.
carries. Thank you. What?
Mike and Shelley.
Oh, Mike and Shelley.
Two
Okay.
abstentions.
Anybody here to speak to the board? Okay. Audiences, board correspondence and communication. Mike, anything to you?
Nothing.
All right, so we hit the OHS and OMS schedule recommendations.
Do we need that fan on?
Close the door, maybe.
Do you want to go first, Sylvia, or do you guys flip a coin or make a difference?
We have some germs going to float around to the high school right now.
Yeah.
You can stay back there with.
Maybe
Can they
not.
hear on
I
the?
don't know.
It's, yeah, so they can just hear it on the computer.
Hello.
You're not going to hear it. You're not here.
So Dr. Miller had said not to present anything, but just to open the floor if you have any questions for me about the revisions to the Oxford Middle School schedule for next year.
Can you just give an overview for the board members who weren't at the curriculum meeting
Oh,
yesterday?
sure.
Just,
Okay.
yeah, kind of like what's changed, what I think it's important for them to know how WIT and
Okay.
PLCs are going to be structured, and then
Right. So for us, the high school's looking to make more of a wholesale switch. For us, it's just some tweaks and revisions to our schedule. And we noticed some problems of practice around the areas of SRBI, equity when it came to students being able to have electives. And also, we noticed a problem of practice around the flex time period, that it wasn't really being used. It's not really being used effectively. And we also have this WIT time that we want to structure more effectively. So in essence, our revisions are we're going to add a period into the school day, and that's going to create equity so that every student gets a WIT. And then we're going to move unified arts to an A-B schedule so that they meet every other day. What I explained to the subcommittee last night is right now music drives our schedule because band meets every day, chorus meets every day. And we think that we can still achieve and maximize our music department, but those will move to being every other day so that students can then take other unified arts classes. Because if you were to look at, we had a student A and a student B in here. Right now, if you take band is every day, and you're not able to take art or STEM or PE, especially if you take Spanish as a 7th or 8th grader. That is your day, and you don't see any unified arts electives. So we want to be able to open that up for students. The current WIT structure is that not all students get a WIT. So we want to purposefully redesign that so that every student gets it. It has a curriculum. It's highly structured. I don't have my prop of the book. Do you have your prop? Oh, look at this. Yeah. Okay. So we've been reading.
that's a good assistant.
She sure is. So we've been reading this book many times. So WIN stands for whatever I need, and WIT is whatever it takes. There's an acronym, for everything, and every school has a different acronym. But that book essentially is helping us to really design WIT so that it's purposeful and structured and gives every student what they need to grow and achieve. In order to have another period in the day, we looked at that flex period at the end of the day. and decided, I was even, today I stood out in the hallway and just watched what was happening. And that 20 minutes could be used so much better. So we are going to shift that flex, absorb it into the school day. And students will have a 5-minute homeroom attached to a period, and then will gain instructional minutes. This year, students have 280 minutes of instructional time. Next year, they'll have 300 minutes with incorporating the flex time into the school day. So really, it's some tweaks of a good foundational schedule. And in adding one more period, we're also able to add PLC time for teachers to collaborate, to have parent meetings, to hold PPTs, 504s, data meetings, meet with SRBI, meet with the support staff, because right now we beg, borrow, and steal time to do all of that. We don't have any concentrated time. And the middle school model that we have is a teaming model. And when you team, the whole point of having a team is that team takes and breaks down a class, the 7th grade class, into 2 different parts, and you really get to know that group of kids, and you meet about them and you talk about them, and you're cohesive about them. And right now we don't have that time built in to be able to do that. So that will be part of the revision. So that's about it in a nutshell. I don't know from there if you have more specific questions for me.
Anybody have questions? Just one last thing, because this was a change, and it's, can you explain about the add-on? That was very important for us to understand last night. The add-on to Power School that's going to allow the teachers in the PLCs to structure.
Oh, yeah.
the
So
WIT.
we've been working with a couple of middle schools that are high performing. One is Jockey Hollow Middle School in Monroe. And the principal there, Julia, she talked to us about something called Adaptive Scheduler. And what Adaptive Scheduler allows you to do, it's an add-on to Power School. It allows teachers a week in advance. So they would use a PLC to do this, right? In a week in advance, they could request students to come to their WIT. So if, say, there was an Algebra 1 test, 8 students didn't do well, that was on a Thursday, they have the PLC on a Friday, that as they plan the next week of WIT, they can request those 8 students to be in their WIT so they can do review, and they can work with them on the deficits right there with the content of what happened. Similarly, the math interventionist could use the adaptive scheduler to schedule students, reading interventionists, the counselor, all sorts of things. But it will be that built-in time to give students what they need.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought that was important, to understand that it's going to be structured, and there's going to have these opportunities for the kids and for the kids for enrichment as well.
Right.
So thank you. Any questions on the middle school schedule or any clarification? Go ahead, Mike.
And it might be that I missed the detail, but for the timing for ELA and math from the current versus proposed, is it the same amount of time for ELA and math?
Each class will be 50 minutes long. Right now, they're currently 56 minutes.
Okay.
And when we did our study of the top performing middle schools in the state, it was so fascinating that most of them had 43-minute periods. So it's really much more about the quality of what you do in those minutes. And I'm hoping that's what we're able to capture when we have teachers really digging into data and talking about instruction week to week, that you maximize those 50 minutes that you have with those kids every day.
All right, anybody else? Seeing none, do you want to make the? Oh,
We're gonna
make
do
one?
one motion at the end.
Let's do one for each.
You want to do one for
Yeah.
each? Okay. Motion to approve the Oxford Middle School schedule changes as presented by the administration and the scheduling committee.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Schedule carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just want to say thank you to both schools for coming to so many of the curriculum meetings and continuously accepting questions and dialogue and going back and forth with us. And yeah, we asked a lot of questions and you explained, and Sylvia was great. She gave me a manual on PLC, so I'm going to scan it and send it to the board members just in case anybody wanted to really know, because that was a big thing for us when we were going through it. So I just wanted to say thank you for spending the time with us, and it was appreciated and answered a lot of questions.
Thank you. Okay, Anthony, next.
Okay, so I am pleased to present to you tonight the recommendation from our schedule committee. Before I get to that, though I know you could read it, I want to explain what we currently have and how the school operates at the high school. So on Mondays and on Thursdays and Fridays, students have an 8-day traditional set of classes. So 8 classes each day, traditional set, 43 minutes each, 27 minutes of passing between all those classes. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, they have a AB block. They have the first 4 classes on Tuesday, roughly 80 minutes, and they have classes 5, 6, 7, and 8 on Wednesday, roughly 80 minutes. This is also when we have our high school advisory period, which is important. I believe it's even in statute. Certainly NEASCA wants us to have that, and it is a valuable period of time for our kids. So we have a very unusual schedule in that we have 8-period traditional and block in the same week. I believe that's the schedule they've had since they opened the building. So our schedule committee this year, I tasked them first to do no harm. We call it the Hippocratic Oath. In other words, we're going to take a look at what's out there, but we want to make sure if we were to recommend something, that it had to be better than what we currently have. When I say better, I mean better for our students. In other words, it's going to help us help our students achieve more. The second thing is we wanted, to the best of our ability, base our recommendations on research. So we did research to determine, gee, is there a schedule that we could simply implement that would automatically increase student academic outcomes in the classroom and on standardized tests? Research says there is no such thing. Well, we said, well, what should we do now? And the idea was we should take a look at the top performing high schools in the state of Connecticut and see, is there a schedule that is more commonly used than others? Of course, there wasn't. It was split 50-50 between an A-B block and 8 drop 2 traditional. So those were the 2 we ended up looking at. An 8 drop 2 traditional would be like you take our Monday with 8 classes. But instead of having all 8 on that day, you have your first 6 and you drop 7 and 8. They don't meet that day. Tuesday comes along and you start with class 7 and 8 and do 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you get 6 classes each day. There are benefits to that, but there's also a lot of drawback. So as we went through this, we wanted to see schools that had these types of schedules. So we went and visited Fairfield Ludlow High School, which is the top performing school in the state of Connecticut, who does the AB block. One of my students' parents teaches there. She came down and was a part of the teacher cadre that met with our teachers. And they were great, explaining the benefits. The big thing that drew us to this school is that the principal told me, because I didn't know this guy from Adam, I just emailed him and said, hey, trying researching, can you share your schedule with me? He's like, hey, well, come down and meet with us too. He said the teachers would never go back. And so that drew us to say, well, okay, we're interested. When we left that school, we thought, this is it. This is the schedule we're going to use. And we went to Newtown to see their 8 drop 2, and then we left saying, this is it. This is the schedule we want to use. So there were great things for both. With the rotation, you had the benefit of not having the same class first thing in the morning or during the lunch wave where it gets interrupted. The drawbacks to that are trying to schedule, making use of staff members from other parts of the district that don't rotate, like related services, speech and language, OT. Stress levels of kids, what day is it, what homework do I have today, what classes aren't meeting, whatever. So we went through it. We had a rubric, we sat down as a group and scored out the benefits and the drawbacks to each. And we unanimously are recommending the AB block because of a variety of reasons, including workload, homework load, but most importantly, the quality of time that the teachers have with the kids. And that was something that all of the folks at Fairfield Ludlow had said to us. The quality of time matters. And I believe, if you look at John Hattie's research and say teacher efficacy, collective nature, the most effective thing for impacting students. And so if we can gather that efficacy, that we all believe that this group time that we have together matters with the kids and make effective use of that. And I had kids when I was subbing and say, Mr. Hibbert, don't go to the block. My butt hurts after 65 minutes of sitting here. So, you know, we're not using the block right if that's the case. We should be moving you around and going from one thing to another. So the bottom line was that we thought that this is going to be the most impactful way for us to improve the academic culture of our building as we strive to make major changes to this building. Student-centered, academically focused, and really research-based in how we interact with the kids. Now, the biggest drawback for us was the use of this time. You know, how can we ensure that we're going to productively make use of these large blocks of time, even though we've had it twice a week over the many years, and now we're going to have it every other day, and we have to make sure that we're not going to lose kids, we're going to keep them interested and motivated. And so that's one of the benefits of starting this now, is we can get people in to do PD now this year, and not have to wait for a couple of days before the school year starts to give folks PD in this. And the people from Fairfield were wonderful. They said, we'll come, you know, my world language teacher will come and talk to your world language teacher. Science teacher will come and talk to your science teacher. That's some of the most potent, powerful PD you can give people. And then for me, you know, asking for a leap of faith in such a large change for the school, I need to be able to provide for you, some evidence that things are going to be going well, and we're going to do this so properly. Properly. So over the course of the first marking period next year, we're going to be looking at a time management study that we'll conduct of what teachers doing each day with their blocks, having people, again, teacher efficacy, talk at staff meetings. This is what I have been doing. I like this model. We have some visuals for the staff of how you can break down your 45 minutes into different sections and whatnot. We're ready to get moving because we want to start talking about teaching and learning. Make that a part of our professional culture. That's my spiel for you. I hope it wasn't too long.
Thank you. Questions for Anthony? Here?
I just want to thank you, Mr. Hibbert, for meeting with me today and addressing those questions that we had, and, you know, entrusting you with that and getting those checks and the temperature of the water every few months of where this goes was reassuring. So thank you very much for meeting with me and clarifying those. Thank you.
And then just the last point, and I don't know if you want to make it how, Robert, how we were talking about looking into getting a cohesive start time and end time to help, you know, with the schedules that they created, and then possibly employee sharing.
There were a lot of factors that went into why the schools were looking at a new schedule. One of the criteria that I was looking at from a district level was the ability for us to share staff. Because as we are a smaller school in a smaller district with a smaller high school, we are not fulfilling or filling all of our classes with enrollment that we need to have. So are there any teachers that are not a fully max schedule that we theoretically could share with the middle school or vice versa? In order to do that, we need two schools that are pretty much on the same type of schedule. One of the flexibilities that we have now with both schools having A/B rotation, high school A/B for all classes, middle school A/B for the specials, is that those will now be in the same cycle. The second piece to that is if we're able to look at school start time and combining the same runs with the middle school and high school in the same way that we do with Quaker Farms and Great Oak. And the way that we used to do here, having students drop off in one building, then transported to the next building. If we could do the same type of pattern with the high school, we'd go from a 3-tier to a 2-tier system, which theoretically would be a savings for the budget. We would be able to start high school start times a little bit later and end a little bit later in the day, have the middle school start a little bit earlier than it currently is, and they end a little bit earlier. Tighten up the elementary schools, have them start a little bit earlier as well and end earlier. Benefit of that is now we don't have elementary school students walking home in the dark. And then if we have the middle school and the high school on the same time, allows the flexibility with the A/B rotation of having teachers be able to get from one school to another without having two different start times. So right now, if we try to split staff and they start the day at 7:30 at the high school at 7:20, and they have the end of the day at the middle school, well, they're working a longer day than all the other teachers. But if the two schools are in the same start and end time, it allows us to flex staff from one school to the other.
Great, thank you. Any further questions? No? Okay, Deb.
Go. Motion to approve the OHS schedule changes as presented by the administration and the scheduling committee.
Second.
Any further discussion aside from, I'll reiterate what Deb said. Thank you so much for the work that you did with
Appreciate
your
it.
committees and coming to in front of our committees as well. And all those in favor,
Aye.
opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
And I'd like to take a moment to thank both the administration, all three of you that are here tonight, and your committees that put a lot of time and effort into beginning to study this work, dating back to last year, and then again this fall and the winter. It yielded a very positive result. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much. You're free to go. I know you want to hear us. Oh, okay.
All the classes.
So next on our agenda is Pool and Quaker Farm School Playground RFP Awards.
Yes, so in our capital improvement plan, the town funded two projects for us this year. One was the repairs to the high school pool, which included relining the pool and a new diving board. We split that project into two different phases. The diving board was done earlier in the summer, so that would be ready before the school summer, the boys. The girls swim season started in the fall, correct? And that was done on time. And the second component was the relining the pool and the floor and all the other components of the pool project that would be done later in the spring. The second capital project that was funded was a replacement to the playground at Quaker Farms, which is approximately 24 years old. Both those bids went out. The bid results came back in. The pool is under budget between the new RP with the older diving board. The two projects together needed to be under $250,000 to hit that mark. The playground is about $8,000 above what the town funded for it. Both projects received one bid. One bidder came in, so there wasn't an option to really choose from. If the board chooses, we can go out to bid a second time for the playground, or my recommendation would be to have a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to fund both projects and take the excess money from the pool project and allocate it to the playground.
Makes sense. I'll start with the pool question. I mean, it's obviously a ton of work for $200,000 that needs to be done. Is what they are replacing and fixing, is that what's considered? So how old is the school? 12? I mean, the pool and the school, 12 years?
2007.
So
8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No.
9.
No, oh, Alex was a class of 12. 10, 9, 8, 7. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so I'm just saying, was it normal wear and tear, and that so it's expected to, in another 12 years?
It's normal wear and tear.
Okay, so
Yes.
there's nothing, because I know that in the beginning, there were some things about how to maintain the school, how to maintain the
Yeah,
water. how
the
to do all
pool is checked on a weekly basis. This company that comes in and tests the water, I think once or twice a week throughout the entire year. We did have issues earlier in the year
Yeah.
that would impact it. Could we do a little bit better at preventative maintenance? Possibly, and we'll take a look at that. But this is normal wear and tear on the pool itself.
And how long, when would you expect it to start, and how long will it disrupt?
The work will start after the boys swimming season later in the spring. And I don't know how long the project is actually going to take, but it's not going to impact high school athletics.
Okay,
It says 5 to 7 weeks.
okay, I didn't see that part. Thank you. And then for any other pool questions from anyone? So then on the playground, again, I don't know why, it just seems like a lot of money. Now there's two playgrounds at Quaker Farms. So is this the one, is it the one, if you're looking at the school, that's to the left or the right that we're replacing?
I
Should be
believe
the
it's to
kindergarten.
right.
The kindergarten ring.
So the
Anthony's
kindergarten
the
one,
one on the
okay,
right,
that was the
correct?
one that
You're
has
the one
like
that
the
did the original.
train or.
Oh,
Right,
yes, the
town
one on the
town
right.
garage.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so then the other one is staying, and so this is
Right.
replacing that.
Right.
And you know, the only point that I would like to make for the record is that we have not forgotten Great Oak Elementary School and the fact that, you know, these kids want and deserve to have swings. I mean, they're 8, 9 years old and they
Right.
should have swings,
Absolutely.
especially since they're asking for it. The kids are. So just to know that, you know, we're not, you know, making Quaker Farms the Taj Mahal of, and forgetting about the
Right,
other kids.
We have two options with Great Oak. One is to, and we're trying to find out what a quote would be to move the older swing set unit from here, from this building that they had over to Great Oak. That's option number one, which might be cheaper than purchasing a brand new set of swings over there. We did do a walkthrough with Heath earlier in the summer, in the fall, to identify where it could go.
Yeah, that's the other issue.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I just wanted that known. Excuse me, any questions on the, oh, and for this, just so that the board knows, so these were two things in the capital plan that the Board of Finance has agreed to fund, which is the pool repairs and the playground.
Right, we had given them a long list of capital improvement plans for this year, and these are the only two projects that they funded for this fiscal year.
Right. So any questions on the playground RFP or anything about it? All right, so we need to do a vote to approve.
You should approve that these bids be passed on to the Board of Selectmen.
Do you want
Sure.
to spit that out? Deb?
Motion to approve the bid to Connecticut Custom Aquatics in the amount of $198,970 for Oxford High School pool repair.
Second.
We're not, we're gonna do two separate.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor,
Aye.
oppose, or abstain? All right, playground, that was the pool pass.
That was the
right?
pool, yep.
Okay, now playground.
There's the motion to approve the bid proposal for Premier Park and Play in the amount of $74,890 for the Quaker Farms playground repair.
All right, we had,
And just for the
207.
record, the high school was built in 2007.
okay, thank you. Was built, but when did it occupy? Didn't we, I think it was a
I think it
year
was-
before, or is that when we occupied it? Anyway, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Okay, passes, playground passes. All right.
And I'd also like to thank Anthony for getting those projects started initially back when he was assistant superintendent. So thank you.
Doing a lot, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay, moving along to the report of superintendent.
Okay, I'm going to take a few minutes to give you a in-person update on what took place with the middle school, starting
Yeah.
on around 5 o'clock on December 25th. The alarm to the building went off. The firemen went to the building to discover that the sprinkler head in the main office was dispelling water. So they called George, and George met them there. And they immediately discovered that there was water that had not only come out of the sprinkler head and what flooded the main office, but had flooded the main lobby. And then went into the nurse's office, into the hallway, two other hallways, a classroom, and then the water just had nowhere else to go. So that went down, and it went down to the library. Within about 10 minutes, they had the water shut off. Within about 10 to 12 minutes of the entire incident starting, they had the water shut off. And thankfully, the firemen, actually, a dozen of them were there, and they pushed the water out of the building. The fact that they were able to get the water out of the school so fast is what really saved us. If this was in the middle of an ice storm or a snowstorm, it took another 10 minutes to get there, it would have been that much more water that they had to get out. When I first I got alerted around 5:15, 5:20 that the firemen were there. I was there within about 10, 15 minutes. At that point, I was not too sure if we're going to open school the following week. If this had been a regular weekend, we would have been in a lot of trouble. We would not have been able to open school the next day. In fact, when I called Stephanie on Christmas, I said, I'm sorry to bother you on Christmas, but you need to know what's happening.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing for Sylvia. I was standing in the library, like in a puddle of water at the time. The crazy part is the area that got the most water was the library. That's where it all rushed to. Thankfully, the water went, if you're familiar with the library, there's a side with a set of desks and the circulation table, and then one side with all the bookshelves. It was the side that had no bookshelves that got all the water. There's one bookshelf that had water on top and a few books that had some water. But in terms of where the water could have come down, we got lucky there. The other piece that we got lucky is most of the furniture at the middle school is on wheels and the copy machine's on wheels. So what was sitting in the water was the wheels, not the actual desk, not the tables, not the copy machine. So that actually saved us as well. Through the communication with the fire chief, we got a high quality restoration company out. He was on site with us by 6:30, 6:45. We toured the building together, and Mike D'Agostino was with me at that point as well. We looked at every single room, looked at everything that had been impacted, did a quick assessment as to what the scope would need to be in order for them to both remediate, in other words, get the place dry by dehumidifiers, using mold killers and mildew cleaner sprayers in different areas, and then getting inside of the walls to make sure that there wasn't water sitting in the walls. And if you have water damage, if you leave it for 24 to 48 hours, that's when there's a risk of mold. So the main objective was to get the place dry within 48 hours. By 8:30 the next morning, so this was on the 26th, so this is not even 24 hours after that it started, they were on site and they were drying the building and they were spraying down the building. So that's what saved a long process of permanent damage to the building from a health standpoint. The fact that we were able to get a company there and actively restored within that first day, within that first 24 hours. So by later in the day, everything was dry because we had so much stuff there. They went through all the moldings on the floor, pulled that out. There is one wall in the library that has more physical damage that we'll probably have to replace some of the sheetrock and some of the insulation within the wall itself, because you can see the damage on the paint. But they assessed the floor, they assessed the walls, they assessed the bookshelves. In the main office, the carpet needs to be replaced. In the main office, the bookshelf and the cabinetry where a phone and a computer sit has to be replaced. The bench in the main office needs to be replaced. There are two comfortable blue chairs that also need to be replaced. And as I said, the carpeting in the main office. And then one wall. That's pretty much the permanent damage that the building took. Some of that stuff is going to take several months to, if not longer, in order to get the supplies to get those repaired. But other than that, the building was able to be reopened on time because we were able to get it actively worked on in such a short period of time. That's what really saved us in this work. The firemen were there so quickly to push the water out.
Yeah.
And that by the next morning, we were actively on site to get it dry and to remediate the building.
Now, does this fall under insurance, the town or us, or what?
It's going to fall under insurance. Our insurance company is going to have to determine whether or not they want to go after the builder and the architects or not. And then whether or not we have a claim to any of the financial recourse to that or not. Essentially, what took place is the sprinkler head that froze is in the main office that is directly underneath the roof of the building. So there's not a second floor above there. As you can call, that weekend, it was close to 0 degrees with the wind chill. By that point, Sunday night had been 2+ days, really cold, bitterly cold wind. We believe either one of two things took place in the ceiling there. One, there could have been a hole that was just enough that the wind came in and dropped the temperature in that pocketed ceiling, just enough to freeze that pipe, which caused the sprinkler head to freeze, which caused the water to go. That's one theory. The other theory is that there just was not enough insulation in that pipe to absorb the wind and the cold in that space in the building. If you recall, there's not a lot of areas in the building that is directly above, has an exposed part of the roof like that. There's 2 or 3 other areas in the building that could have the same type of challenge. And we're going to use some infrared sensors and see if there's any way to be proactive and what else we can do in those areas to prevent it from happening again.
Yeah, especially since January and February are coming up. I mean,
Right.
Even though we had 70-degree weather a couple of days ago for Joe, but
Right.
it's going to get cold. So we feel pretty confident that with the, chilly weather that's coming up, that we'll be able to circumvent this so that doesn't happen again, or even if it's by setting the temperatures at a different
That's
temperature.
That's the plan. So now that we know that there's a possibility this could occur, that we will be proactive on a general weekday. It's not really a big concern because you've got the temperature in that building that's raised during the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
It's a long weekend. It's a holiday. It's a vacation. We don't have anybody in the building that you typically would drop the temperature to save electrical or
Right.
energy costs. This building would be propane. So in this case, we would purposely not set the temperature in that area of the building, knowing that that is prone to it, and a lower temperature would keep
Right.
it a little bit higher.
Does anybody have questions for Rob about that incident or need any further explanation? All right. Thanks.
have
Oh,
one.
go ahead, Mike.
Have we thought about from just to protect ourselves, looking at sensors? I know in my server rooms, we have motions or moisture sensors.
Mhm.
So I mean, it wouldn't be cost effective to have it everywhere, but for any of the areas that we are concerned, especially for long weekends and things like that, it might be worth it for us to look into.
I've used that in server rooms too. It could be something that we could jury to put in that type of a spot. We could take a look at it. It's a good idea.
Anybody else?
Is it possible that we could maybe get letters of appreciation or certificates for the first responders for such a quick,
Sure.
it seems like their actions prevented a lot of damage, so
Yeah.
being that it was a holiday.
It's sent cookies.
From what I understand, they went above and beyond the call of duty. Typically, they wouldn't have done what they did of
Totally
getting the
appreciate
water
it.
out.
Yeah,
Water
That's
out
a
of
good
it.
idea, Joe. Mike, I'm gonna put you in charge of, what is that called? Sunshine
Sunshine?
Fund. Because you are our sunshine.
Any other questions with that? I had mentioned the swing set at Great Oaks. I'm not going to address that again now,
Yeah.
but we are going to take a look at that. Exciting news. I know this had been brought forward through Audience of Citizens back at the end of November, begin December, about the spring musical, whether or not we're going to fund it, whether or not there'd be a director. We are still working. We're close to the MOU. I've been discussing with the Teachers Association. I think we're close to having an agreement that I'll bring to you. But we also have somebody that signed on and is agreed to be the director
Awesome.
of the musical, and also has people that are in position now for the other positions as well. So there had been concern that we wouldn't be able to staff it, and we are fully staffed now to get the musical started for the musical
Good.
as of this week. So that's pretty exciting.
Great.
That's
thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
news.
And I know that the high school musical has also started. The actors and actresses have all been told who the parts that they are playing, the stage and the lighting, and they've all been assigned parts as well. They did their reading of it at the musical last week. So they have started that as well. So I believe it's sometime in March. I don't have the dates in front of me, but I believe that sometime mid-March.
Oh, March?
What
I think
is
it's
it?
March. I think it's March, sometime in that frame.
What
And speaking of that,
What's the play?
it's 9 to 5.
95?
Yeah.
9 to 5.
Oh,
the Dolly-
9 to 5.
The Dolly Parton one. With Jane
Yes.
Fonda.
Speaking of the high school, students have the traditional rite of passage next week, which are our midterms.
All right.
They are right now working with their teachers, getting ready for the exams. They'll go on a modified schedule where students will be in school on the days that they are taking in the assessment. It's a longer block of time that it's more of a block schedule for the scheduling. So that is next week at the high school.
And all the assessments are common, so, the midterms are, so you have to give them all at once, so
Yes.
every subject area.
Uh,
That says midterm. Thanks, Anthony.
I'm excited to announce that Great Oak Elementary School received a distinction from the state of Connecticut as a school of distinction. They are one of 14 schools in the state that got awarded it this year. It's established by a set of criteria that the state looks at everything from SBAC to attendance to physical education. This is a school accountability report. This is the first time that I've been here that any of our schools have been awarded this distinction. So I allowed Heath to publicize it in his newsletter last Friday. I wanted him to get out in front of it first and notify his staff and community first. And then I'll follow up with announcement in my newsletter this week, and we'll do a press release. But I wanted him to have the first opportunity to publicize that first. That was done on Friday last week. So I'm excited, and that's at the same time, there's always room for growth. And when you take a look at our assessment scores, we are very proud of the students that have achieved, and that school distinction shows us that we have students that are achieving a high level, and that's kudos to the students and the teachers. At the same time, we still have students that are below proficient where we want them to be. And I am not going to be satisfied. I don't think our teachers can be satisfied until every single one of our students are performing above mastery. And that's what our goal is, that to work on towards.
Yeah, great.
And speaking of that, speaking of working towards mastery, today was the second cohort, the second day of this science of reading cohort that our district team attended. And once again, that initiative is focused on K-3 literacy and focusing on developing a new plan and moving the district forward around the concepts of science of reading. We view this as an opportunity not just to look at K-3, but making a K-12 approach to literacy, because with our district, we know that our students are not performing at the levels that we want them to do across the board, especially at the secondary level where there's room for improvement there. And we know that if we have to address literacy in the perspective of, we've been teaching it a certain way for a while now, but it hasn't yielded us the results that we need it to do. And the science of reading and the research has told us we need to do X. Well, we need to address how we're teaching literacy K-3. But at the same time, that tells us there's a pocket of students above K-3 that have gone through our literacy instruction that might not have had the instruction that they should have had based upon the research. So what do we need to do from a secondary perspective to fill those gaps for those skills and those competencies that they might not have gotten earlier on? So while the state is focusing the science of reading on K-3, we view this as a K-12 approach, actually a pre-K-12 approach. And we've got staff, administrators, and teachers K-12 that are participating in this cohort. So I'm excited about it. We made a lot of progress again today. In between the state sessions, we also do an online module. So the second module will be in February, and we have been assigned a coach, which is a former retired superintendent, and a literacy expert that is guiding our team, so that those two individuals are with our team in December. They came in and worked with us, our leadership team of the cohort, and they'll be back with us again either next week or the following week. And part of that will involve coming in and coaching us, doing some observations in classrooms to observe how we're doing things in the schools. And we've also been paired with another district called an affinity group. The district that we're paired with is New Haven. So the way the day was constructed today, there was a national speaker in the morning, and then the afternoon we worked in collaboration with our affinity group. So I'm excited with the work that we're doing. I think that at the end of this, it's not about a specific program. It's about changing our pedagogy on how we approach literacy and reading instruction in the district. So I'm excited that the state accepted us into this now that we've gone to 2 of these sessions and we're working with our coach. I'm very excited for what's coming next.
So when is that ending?
End of the school year.
Oh, so it's for this whole school year.
Yeah.
And then how do you anticipate? So then would there be some kind of a report written or something brought to the board to just give us an idea of where you're going?
I don't know that there'll be an actual physical report that will be developed. One of the actual items that will be created probably sometime in February will be our plan of action.
Mhm.
It will be a set of goals and action items, which we'll be able to present to you before the end of the year, probably sometime in March once we're done with that, maybe even as late as the end of February.
Mhm.
And then we'll be able to give you updates throughout the
Yeah,
process.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else in your report?
That's it.
Okay. So my report will be, fairly simple. Happy New Year to everyone. So happy to be back with you guys. We have, hard to believe that half the year is already over. Feel like we have a ton of work still to do, especially with budget season coming up. And I'd like to congratulate Great Oak Elementary School on that distinction. I mean, it's wonderful when our schools get recognized for the hard work that they're doing. So congratulations to Great Oak Elementary School. And especially, I think one of the highest scores was in math, which is fantastic because we were expecting you know, worse with implementing a new math program. So kudos to the staff on that. And that's it. So subcommittee reports. Joe, anything aside from our what thing? Yeah.
I keep stealing your thunder, so I'm sorry. about that.
Yeah, it's okay. That's
Right, and speaking of facilities, I received an actual memo from the town today, letting us know that by the 26th or 27th of January, we owe them our capital improvement plan.
Oh,
So we're gonna need you to do that quickly.
is it usually that in
Mhm.
January?
Normally, it's after January that we
February.
provided to them,
Usually
so.
February.
I
Yeah.
think we can just send them what we.
what we
Yeah, just
had
send
last
them the
year.
Yeah, just send them,
one.
yeah.
We'll
We didn't get
revise it.
funded anyway.
Yes.
Just take out the pool and
Yeah, I
the,
think the pool and the diving board.
So the plan is I will have that, we'll update it and
Yeah.
we'll share that with the board at our next board meeting. That's what we'll end up providing to them.
That's the good house.
we won't get anything anyway.
Yeah, just change
Yeah.
it.
Yes, we'll be very forward a year.
All right. Deb, curriculum?
Curriculum. First of all, I really would like to thank our committee for spending as much time as we did with the schedules. It was a lot, and then we asked sometimes some unpopular questions, but I think that everybody was great about getting us the answers and cooperating. And I think that where we are now is a good starting. It's not going to be perfect. We all have to know that we're going to have tweaks, but I think I was pleased that we all worked so well together. So I just wanted to say thank you. We have second reads for the high school music courses. There's the piano and guitar, advanced music technology concepts, beginning band instrument, and then music and theater proposals. They were a first read at last meeting, second read tonight. So I don't know if anybody had any questions.
Anybody have any questions? So
So I can make
do we have to
them,
do them individually?
I was just gonna do them all at one
I
time.
think, especially they're all in the same content.
Right. So I was going to motion to approve the Oxford High School music proposals. I think that's enough, right?
Yeah.
Second.
Joe, second. Any further questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose or abstain? That carries.
And we have another curriculum meeting on the 23rd, which we have Mrs. Potter bringing us some curriculum to go over. So we'll have another update for you at the next meeting.
And we'll have an update probably on the changes to the website.
Yeah, that
All
should
be-
be all part of
okay.
that process.
Yeah.
so. And that's all I have.
Bye, Anthony.
Thank you.
Bye, Anthony.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Feel better.
Policy. Oh, you were done, right?
I was done.
Okay. Nicole, policy.
All right, we have two policies down for a second read. The first one is meal charging, the second is fundraising. Just to refresh your recollection, the meal charging policy is because the federal money has dried up, so now students are paying for their meals once again. The policy highlights that no child will be refused lunch or shamed for not having enough money on their account. The policy outlines the steps that the district will follow to pursue a delinquent debt, and all the actions taken to collect the funds focus on interaction with the parents or the guardian, not the student itself. So that's the meal charging policy. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay. Want to do the motion? Deb?
You can do it.
Motion to approve the meal charging policy as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
All right, and then the next for a second read is the fundraising policy. As you may recall, there were some questions that came up regarding what would be an appropriate sponsorship for advertising dollars in the district. We had no model policy to work off of from Shipman and Goodwin, so we took a look at sample language from a neighboring district and we drafted this policy, which recognizes the important role that parents and organizations play in supplementing the funding related to school activities for the betterment of the district. But it also clearly states that sponsorships by purveyors of products or services detrimental to the well-being of the Oxford Public Schools students is unacceptable. So we are not going to be accepting sponsorships from businesses that sell alcohol, tobacco, or whose primary business sells sexual products or services. So any questions about the fundraising policy?
No? thank you for doing that, because that, you know, it's so much easier when you have a policy, then there's less question.
Correct. So
But Joe looks like he's thinking.
I just was wondering about, should we include marijuana? Establishments,
well, it's
dispensaries.
tobacco products,
Oh,
so
okay.
I think
Yeah, I
we're
said the
okay.
same thing.
Okay.
The subcommittee, I think it says including but not limited to,
Awesome.
so that we
Okay.
had that coverage to give, broad discretion, if other stuff came up. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, we
That's a good
purposely
point.
put that language, but it's included or not. included.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
It's a good point, though.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve the fundraising policy as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Motion carries. And a quick question to Robert. So when these policies do get approved at the board level, what's the next step? Do you send them out to the administrators and say, just so that you know what, how does that work?
in most cases, I let the administrative team know. In this case, for these two policies, there's an implication that goes beyond just what the administrators need to know. So I plan to highlight these in the upcoming newsletter so that all parents and staff see it.
Okay,
I also plan on sending a memo to the PTO and the Booster Club so that they are aware, because they do the primary fundraising on behalf of the schools. So I want
Right.
them to know explicitly, this is the new policy that's in place now, that they should then communicate this with their parents.
Yeah. so then bottom line, any policies that we approve, they do go to whoever needs to know about them. And
Yes.
it's expected that the staff would, look things up or understand or know,
Yes.
what the policies are.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nicole.
I also have 6 policies that I want you to take a look at your leisure. They're down for a first read tonight. And I'll just briefly highlight what each one is in case you have any questions. The first one is child abuse, neglect, or sexual assault reporting. And this policy was revised to reflect Section 5 of the Public Act 22-87, which makes changes to the distribution requirements for the Board of Ed written policy for mandatory reporting by school employees of suspected child abuse or neglect. The policy also reflects mandatory training provided by DCF required to be completed by all school employees. The next policy is food allergies and/or diabetes. That policy highlights the importance of having a plan in place for those students at risk of extreme allergies or complications pertaining to diabetes. It also provides additional clarity around the use of continuous glucose monitors in school. The third policy that we're looking at is the physical activity, undirected play, and student discipline. The policy recognizes the importance of physical activity in the regular school day and limits circumstances where undirected play can be removed as a form of discipline. Number 4 is Section 504 of the ADA. And this policy reflects new guidance regarding supporting students with disabilities and avoiding discriminatory use of discipline under the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. The 5th policy is curricular exemptions, and the model policy was revised to include firearm safety programs and exemption from such instruction. It should be noted that our district currently does not have a firearm safety program, but the language has been included for policies in conformance with the state law. And then lastly, we have parent-teacher communications. We revised the model policy to remove some outdated language and to conform with the current modes of communication. So that's a lot of reading. Take your time, go through it all. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we'll do a second read at the next meeting.
Thank you so much.
And use the attachment that's in the agenda. Try not to, the links, I think, take you back to shipment inside of the agenda notes there, but use the attachments that are linked in the bottom of the,
Oh, in the bottom.
Okay, thank you. Finance, Mike,
Um,
getting into the season.
Yes, it definitely is. So December finance report, there were no concerns as we went through things. Looked like there's 8 positions under current posted vacancies. We discussed the athletic director position, considering merging the middle school and high school AD positions. Looking to, what does that mean for the position and the job description as a whole? There were some concerns over, do we have enough staff to cover health and fitness classes? If there's an adjustment of the number of classes being taught. I believe that's going to be still further discussion as we look to finalize that position posting. Not really posting, but like, what is the position that we have? We looked at the budget schedule. That's going to be the big initiative for the next probably few months. Rob and his team's been doing a great job, and they're continuing to do a great job. We have our first subcommittee meeting in regards to the budget this Thursday at 4 p.m. Our next subcommittee meeting is the following Tuesday. I think we're possibly looking to adjust the timing just for work conflicts for myself. One of the other topics brought up was IT budget having to do with Chromebooks, concerns with the maintenance and how we repair them and the process. And we don't have insurance at the moment, how we handle that and how we want to move forward handling that. Is there costs going to be introduced to parents, their families? You know, how do we, have everyone have skin in the game, but not be punitive for, especially for families that, on free and reduced lunch. We're looking at the considerations for those families, as well as multi-families, families with multiple children in the school system. But they're, the subcommittee's belief is, and in agreement with, the head of IT, is that there needs to be some skin in the game for, kids to try to maintain the equipment that's given to them. So that was discussed. We discussed the transportation contract, looking at a 5-year deal, 6% for year 1, 3% for following years. Concern is that if we go out to bid, we will be seeing almost double-digit percentage increases, and it's very hard to have multiple bids come in for that just because of the cost to get into the district. And we're just not large enough district. If it was regional, maybe there'd be something, but for one town, it's very hard for that. So we're looking at that. Food service, we had the second read tonight. Revised pricing starting on, I believe,
It started.
it's already started on
Yeah.
1/3. Looking to add 2 additional positions through grants. And that's pretty much it.
So the meeting Thursday, is that Zoom or is
It's
that?
in person.
It's in person. I put Zoom on mine. Okay. And that's a regular finance meeting. This is not the joint one.
This is just our finance committee
Okay.
I think the joint one was.
next
the ninth?
Thursday,
Okay. So
the 19th.
take care of
And I did send an invite to Jack Highlights and I not heard back from him.
that. Okay. All right. Any liaison reports?
PTO meeting is Thursday at 6:30, so I may or may not be able to make it depending
Right, same
on
here.
how long our finance meeting is.
I can say that the Booster Club has agreed, or not the Booster Club, the PTO is moving forward with the
Mhm.
fundraiser that had been brought to them back in the fall, which is anticipated to bring in $15,000 to $20,000 if the revenue mirrors what they have, this company has received in other school
And
districts.
what was it from?
It's basically the students will participate in about a 2 to 3 week process where they'll be collecting money online. People, family members, friends will sponsor them. And at the elementary schools, they will basically go on, I think it's like 14 or 18 runs around the gym.
Okay. So kind of like a walkathon or whatever.
Essentially, yeah.
Kinda like
And
the
at the
jump rope
middle
or
school,
something.
it's kind of a party. There'll be several different activities that they'll do. And of those days leading up to that, there'll be character and education stuff that they participate in the school. So there's some activities that are related to good behavior in school, and then some of the physical activities. And then they raise the funds from soliciting money through the process. And
Is that a
and have it-
company that does that?
It's a company that does it. And the company will come in, they'll set everything up, take everything down. They facilitate any of the technology that's needed, the online modules, everything that the students are engaged in. They do all that work. And that actually will begin this month, and the 2 fundraisers will take place in February.
I think February 1st. I think
And we
one
haven't
is.
done, this is.
This is brand
This is
new.
the first
This is
one.
brand new.
One of the moms that came to one of the meetings, they do it in her school.
Okay.
And I think that she said they raised $25,000. And
Yes.
it was a K-3 school.
Yeah.
And they raised $25,000.
Yeah.
So
We're doing it all 3 schools. I
Giant.
met with Amanda and the representative from the company and our 3 principals last week to talk about the details and to get this going.
Okay.
So there'll be some communication goes out to parents, there'll be social media stuff that I push out there. So this, if it goes as it's been in other schools, it could be highly successful. They could raise a lot of money, which would benefit our
Yeah,
schools. So it'll be
Great.
I just
positive.
hope everybody cooperates and works well with them to make this successful, because it can be
Yeah.
a huge thing for the kids too.
Yes.
So,
And a lot of fun for the staff and the kids.
yeah,
Yeah. I
absolutely.
mean, it sounds like a good combination. Are there any other liaison reports? I don't think so. So hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:31.
Wow.
Really, we are so good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Motion carries.